What is up, y'all? New spot. Anyways, we're getting closer and closer to the NFL season. I'm excited. I bet you guys are too. I'm especially excited for the NFL season because it means we're going to be printing money with these deep sleeper plays, our preseason observations, our preseason notes, getting those waiver wire additions for you guys. Easy money. I'm not selling picks, just these videos. Feel free to peep the other videos, like and subscribe if you like this video. Anyway, let's hop right into it. Things I noticed during preseason week 2, NFL, and how that affects your fantasy games. Starting with the wide receivers, we're going Malik Neighbors, New York Giants. He went for 6 targets, 4 catches, 54 yards. Essentially, the other targets are on Daniel Jones. On top of the impressive stat line to begin for a preseason game, Neighbors played with the first team, and he clearly flashed as an elite prospect with an insane catch radius. Daniel Jones targeted him. He's the clear wide receiver 1 going to the Giants. Full steam ahead on the Neighbors hype train. The only limiting factor is just how bad Daniel Jones is, which the answer is pretty bad. But Neighbors might just be so good that he outweighs all of that. He showed us why he was picked where he was in the first round. Next up, this is a big winner. First round draft pick, but there was still more we need to see from him, and we got that in this game. It's Xavier Worthy on the Chiefs. He had 6 targets, and he caught 3 of them for 62 yards and a touchdown, and then he had 1 rush for 11 yards. Worthy played with the first team unit. He split Mahomes' targets almost evenly with Rashee Rice. So Worthy obviously had top-end speed at the combine. He also showed great receiver traits in this game that we got to see on tape. And recently, Hollywood Brown got injured. He's going to be out, I think, 6 to 8 weeks. So Worthy has a spot on the ones right away, and he'll be needing to show out. And he showed us this game. He has the all-around talent to do so. Hopefully become the Chiefs' next Tyreek Hill, although that's obviously a pipe dream. But Xavier Worthy is going to be competing for the number 1 wide receiver role in Kansas City. Even if he's a wide receiver 2, he should be very, very productive in fantasy this season. Also a bump for Mahomes, I think, because this is one of the better receiver rooms he's played with since Tyreek left. Next up, Jordan Whittington, Rams. I wanted to touch on this guy again. Loki, he should be deeper in the deep sleepers category, but Whittington showed out again. He had 8 targets, caught 5 of them for 52 yards. I love this guy. I talked about him last video. Go check out last video if you want to see more of my notes on him. Basically, he's going to be wide receiver 3 from the Rams, and that's been a fantasy productive one. Also, Puka and Kupp are pretty injury prone. All right, moving on to the running backs. First off, we have a guy who was not super productive in this game, but it's Najee Harris on the Steelers. Harris had 4 carries for 17 yards, but who cares about that? Because Jaylen Warren went out in this game, and he's expected to miss multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. As we know, Warren and Harris have been splitting very, very evenly in Pittsburgh for like the last 1.5 seasons, basically. If Warren is out in an Arthur Smith offense, Najee Harris is the undisputed RB1. That makes him a high-end RB2. It should massively boost his ADP. Keep that in mind in your leagues. Again, not much has changed. Just Jaylen Warren got hurt, so we can expect Harris to have the full workload on the Steelers because there's nobody really else on the depth chart that's built to handle that kind of volume. Next guy, rookie. I don't think I touched on him last week, but Ray Davis from the Bills had 8 carries for 58 yards. Ray Davis looks like the real deal. He's pretty much locked in as the Bills' number 2 running back now. The Bills love to use a split backfield. They have almost never had a workhorse in the last couple, like 5-6 years. And Davis over 2 preseason games has made a very strong case to get that 1B role behind James Cook, which would still be somewhat fantasy viable, at least worth rostering. And then Trey Benson on the Cardinals. Trey Benson had 9 carries for 43 yards. He showed great burst, great shiftiness. He's solidifying his running back 2 role under Connor. If Connor slips and Benson shows us more talent, then Trey Benson has potential to take over as a 1A in this Cardinals offense, hopefully late in the season when you're in your fantasy playoffs, in your best ball playoffs, and you need big showings from this guy. He may take over the 1A with the draft capital with James Conner's age. No tight ends for this week, and we're going to go into more general offense notes, and then we're going to be looking at deep sleepers or guys you can look at if guys ahead of them on the depth chart get injured, pick them up later in the season, you guys have them in your pocket. And so we have 3 offensives I'm touching on. 2 of them I touched on last week, so we're just going to go over those real quick again. Broncos, once again, Bo Nix looks awesome. As of today, the 21st, He just got named the official starting QB week 1 in Denver. Keep in mind, Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims have not been playing. Like, they basically just have not been playing at all, especially not with the ones. So don't draft those guys. Their stock is not necessarily up. But the other Broncos offense, like Sutton, like maybe Dulcich, like Tim Patrick, maybe if you want to. I would not recommend drafting Tim Patrick, but if you want him, he's there, I guess. Bears, Caleb looks awesome once again. We'll see if he can be that CJ Stroud level of player, but with the volume through the air and the leg volume, I am a little skeptical that he'll reach those levels, but the Bears offense should be okay. Their ADP being so high has so far been justified by Caleb's play in the preseason. And then this one is a little more iffy, but we're going to take a look at the Raiders offense. Gardner Minshew got officially named the starting QB week 1 by Antonio Pierce over Aiden O'Connell after this week of preseason. I think Jacoby Myers especially will benefit. Minshew peppered him with targets. He's the type of archetype of receiver that does very well with Minshew. If we look at Josh Downs' production with Minshew last year, stuff like that, Minshew should increase passing volume. He might not actually be a better QB, but he'll do a lot of good stat padding, which is great for fantasy. We love that. He's going to air it out. So Jacoby Myers should benefit. I also do have eyes on Trey Tucker. Not my favorite prospect, but a second-year player. He had 6 targets, 3 receptions, and 66 yards, and most of those targets were with Minshew. So Trey Tucker may be an option on this Raiders offense, pending injury, obviously. There's still Devontae and Jacoby in front of him on the roster. Clearly more talented players. If one of them goes down, then you can look at Trey Tucker just for a late, like, super deep league flex filler, right? Sion Vaki, we touched on Sion Vaki being a running back last week. He's RB3 on the Lions going into the season. Vaki had a good showing, 6 carries, 22 yards, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 60 yards, very efficient. Once again, this guy's not someone you should roster in your standard leagues. But if there's an injury, Vaki is the immediate pickup. You know who to get him. I'm mixing a little bit of him deep in my underdog drafts. I think he does have upside this season. This is the guy I really like coming up. This is the guy I think will probably be rostered in some standard leagues at some point in the season, and that is Jacob Cowing, wide receiver on the 49ers. If you're an underdog, you have to be drafting this guy. You have to have at least a couple $100s on this guy, in my opinion. So we look at the Niners depth chart, first of all. We have Debo, injury-prone usually. Ayuk is doing his holdout thing. He may or may not stay with the Niners. There's a good possibility he does leave, although I personally am leaning towards him staying with the Niners, but we can't discount the possibility that Ayuk does get traded wherever it is, to the Steelers, to the Patriots, wherever. And then Ricky Pearsall, their first-round pick wide receiver, is still injured. He's going to miss the rest of preseason. He's missing practices. And Jacob Cowing is a guy behind Ricky Pearsall. The Niners drafted another receiver, Jacob Cowing, in the 4th round. And he's been playing extremely well. We've heard great reports out of camp. The administration brought him in, made the choice to draft him. And in this game, he had 5 targets, and he caught 4 of them for 51 yards. To me, Jacob Cowing has potential where if we're looking at Ayuk going down, if we're looking at Pearsall, we're drafting for upside in best ball underdog leagues. This is a guy who could be the Niners wide receiver 2 as early as week 1. If he gets on the field and outplays Pearsall, they're not going to play Pearsall over him. There's a very clear path to targets here, and if you're looking for upside, to me, Cowing is as high upside as a pick that you can get. If he has legitimate wide receiver talent, he's playing in that Niners offense, in that Shanahan offense, which is going to create wide open yard after catch opportunities, great production, lots of touchdowns, high scoring. Jacob Cowing looks like a good bet. I love this guy. Next up, this guy, you guys know, is near and dear to my heart. Jawar Jordan, Texans running back. Now, on the ground, admittedly, Jawar Jordan was not great. He had 8 carries for 16 yards. However, even though he had 2 yards per carry, he outperformed Dameon Pierce, who had 4 rushes for 5 yards. So, Pierce looks completely washed. And in the receiving game, Jawar Jordan did flash some upside, which Dameon Pierce did not. Jawar Jordan had 5 targets. He caught 4 of them for 42 yards. So, not great on the ground, but very productive through the air. Jawar Jordan is showing that receiving upside. Like I've talked about in previous videos, we like that receiving upside. It gives running backs a chance to get on the field in 3rd down if they're a better pass catcher than the main running back. And when you get on the field, you get to show off your talent. And so I'm still all in on Jawar Jordan. I think the upside he gives us to potentially be the Texans' RB1, beat out Mixon, is still possible. It's not likely, as I said, it's not likely, but it's possible. Pierce looks completely washed. Jawar Jordan could easily be the RB2 with some third down receiving work, which does get you that touchdown upside, that PPR upside that we love to see in our late round running backs. Still in on Jawar Jordan. Another sleeper we put down that had a good showing, back from the dead, Kimani Vidal. Bang! Reports of his demise were greatly exaggerated. Many were speculating before this week Vidal wouldn't even make the roster. This dude is making the roster, and he showed you guys why last week. 11 carries, 49 yards, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 8 yards. Super efficient. Vidal looked great. He bounced back in a huge way. He ran really hard. He showed great bursts between the tackles. Very, very encouraging for Vidal's stock going into the season. We need him to make the roster, obviously. But you can't tell me they're rostering Jarrett Patterson over this dude. They drafted him this year in like the 4th, 5th round. High draft pick. They're not cutting Kimani Vidal, especially after a showing like that. He showed us the talent, why we think he can beat Gus Edwards, why we think he can beat out J.K. He doesn't even have to beat out J.K. Dobbins, bro. J.K. Dobbins going to tear his Achilles in training camp. Be so for real. But Vidal flash out upside. Still very much one of my favorite late round picks in underdog drafts. Now, here's a guy that I'm not super sure about, but he put together the stats for a second straight week. Deneric Prince, Chiefs, 7 carries, 47 yards. Mix in a little bit of this guy at the end of the drafts. Honestly, this week hasn't been great. Even with that stat line, it's a little deceiving. I think 41 of his yards were on a run that literally basically any NFL running back could have had, but I can't say he hasn't been productive, right? I do think this week's stat line is a little deceiving, and we've been hearing that Carson Steele may have the edge over him. But if this guy is the RB2, him or Carson Steele, I would invest a little bit after roster cuts, just because I do believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire is really nothing tough to beat talent-wise at this point. Definition of washed. And Pacheco still is an undrafted running back. And I know you guys may say it's been a couple years. He's been very good, which I can't disagree with. But the fact is that NFL teams really weigh the initial draft capital, and that will tell you a lot about how much they're willing to replace their running back, how many chances they're willing to give him. Look at Zeke, entirely washed and still somehow on teams, right? So Prince is interesting to me, maybe deceiving, mix in like a teensy weens of it, get like 1 to 5 entries with Prince in them just in case, right? Anyways, that's all we have for today. I will maybe make another video after this week of preseason. I low-key forgot which week of preseason they just like stop. They just like play people that are deciding whether to cut or not. So we'll see about that. But anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.